I'm left stranded with my father-in-law, and when I tell you he's not the man I thought he was, that's no lie. He's turned into a toxic jerk. You might be wondering, where's my husband? Well, unfortunately, he passed away from a car accident, and now I'm left with his dad who's about to do this to me. Hey, my name's Angelica. I have 2 daughters who have to grow up without a father, and I cannot explain how that hurts me so much. I'm lucky to have a strong support system, in this case, my father-in-law. I lost my husband a little more than 2 years ago when his car crashed. It's still fresh in my heart, and it aches me more each day. We got married 6 months before Flora was born, and we were the happiest family. I was so grateful that my children would grow in a very healthy environment. My father-in-law was so happy when Caitlin was born. He would always tell me how wonderful of a daughter I am that he never had. After we got married, I moved in with my husband and his father. Even though my husband has always traveled around with work, we never got used to him leaving. My husband never wanted me to go to work, so he worked extra hard to make sure that the children and I did not need to move on a muscle. He would spoil both the kids and me. I miss him so much, and I cannot imagine my life without him, but my father-in-law has been by my side every step of the way, and I appreciate it so much. Caitlin keeps asking for her father, as she doesn't really understand what's happened, but I tried to make her understand by telling her that Daddy has gone to join Grandmother in heaven. She gets episodes now and then when she starts missing him, and I'm trying to be strong for my daughters, but sometimes I lose control too as I've grown dependent on him. Although my father-in-law is supportive, he started to distance himself a little, as I guess he's trying to find a coping mechanism, and I totally understand it. My father-in-law has been suggesting that I take some time off for the kids and just be alone. I cannot do that though, because they lost a dear one just like we all did, and it's up to me to make sure that they feel safe even though I cannot bring their father back. My parents, on the other hand, have been insisting that I go back home as I need all the help that I can get with the girls. And apparently, I also need a timeout to avoid myself from erupting. I cannot leave the house just because my husband's no longer there. I'll stay in this house as if he's still here because this is my new home. I decided to find a job as it was the only thing that I could do to escape the pain. I've been so invested in work, not only to escape the pain, but to also make money to pay the house expenses and make sure that my children have all that they need. If you guys have any advice on what you would do, let me know. I'll update you soon enough. Update number 1, 7 months later. My father-in-law has turned into a whole new person, and I do not think I know him anymore. He's become bitter, and he does not sympathize with anyone. You see, Caitlin had another episode where she threw a tantrum asking for her dad, and her grandfather decided to shout at her, absolutely screaming at her. He scared her so badly that she cried for almost an hour straight, and she just wished her father was here to keep her safe from Grandpa. My father-in-law demanded I go back to my parents' house and said that I did not belong here. He said that I've made the children too soft, and he doesn't like it. I don't know if it's because of his son's death that he turned into this kind of person, or maybe he was just faking who he was the whole time. I've packed my bags and the children's bags so that we could go leave this place. As we were walking out the door, he stopped me and said, "Where do you think you're taking my grandchildren? They're staying here with me, and you can go back to live with your family. Who do you think will keep me company in this big house when you're gone? I need the children to stay here with me, and we're not going to negotiate this." Well, I was filled with so many thoughts. I wondered why he wanted to stay with the kids all alone. He was once the nicest man, and now he's telling me that I should leave and let me stay with the kids all alone. I felt that something was most definitely fishy, and so I stood my ground and said that I was not leaving my kids behind. It's either we all stay or we all leave. He left us alone and said that I would regret having to speak back to him. I had no idea what he meant, but I'm not leaving here without my kids. Even though he's acting like some arrogant idiot, he's still my father-in-law, and it's my duty to take care of him. I've been trying to get him to drop the issue with the children so we can live happily just like before, but he doesn't seem to care about what I say. A few days ago, I made him a cup of coffee and took it to his favorite spot in the house. I called to him with a soft voice and handed him the cup. I thought he was going to take it as he was smiling, and I did not click that it was a sarcastic smile. He threw the cup against the wall, and all my energy was gone to waste. The kids came running to see what was happening, and Caitlin cut her foot from one of the broken parts of the cup. She starts screaming, crying, and my father-in-law looked at her with no emotion in his eyes at all. He blamed me for it. He said that everywhere I go, disaster follows, and he wanted to blame me for my own husband's death. If he had died elsewhere, like at home, I'm pretty sure this man would have said that I poisoned him. He stood up and passed by Caitlin without even comforting her or apologizing for the glass. I couldn't believe it. I ran to my daughter and picked her up. I went to sanitize her foot and covered it with cloth. Flora keeps asking me what's gotten into Grandpa, but I don't have the answers. That instant, I wished that my husband was here to see the real person he calls his father. This man has been a wolf in sheep clothing this whole time, and we fell for it without a doubt. He started being hesitant about eating food that I cook because I would apparently poison him. If I really wanted to, I would have done it already without thinking twice. Let me go and prepare the kids for bed. I'll update you soon on how life is going in this house. Update number 2. It's been a month and things are not going any easier. My father-in-law does not allow me to rest at all. He makes sure I work all day, and he even made me lose my job. He says that ever since my husband died, I've become lazy, and I'm always giving excuse after excuse about everything, which is a lie. Because ever since my husband died, I've been working non-stop, and it's affecting my relationship with my girls. They think that I don't spend time with them anymore. Father-in-law fired the maid in the house and demanded that I start doing all the work that the maid had to do, which included gardening as well. I told him that I could not deal with all the house chores, and he said that the only way we could solve it was if I quit my job. Well, I refused, and he decided to take it upon himself by emailing a resignation letter to my boss directly from my email. A day after he did that, I was excited for work as I was about to present a paper, and I was greeted in the worst way possible by my boss as he said I had disappointed him badly. Well, I was confused as I had no idea what he was talking about. "What do you mean, sir? Have I done something?" I asked as I started throwing all the cards to the table to figure out why he was so aggravated. "Oh, stop playing games. You just decide to quit the day before the big day. You knew how important this is to me, and the company is everything a game to you?" He said to me with anger, and I still cannot understand what he meant. After a while of asking him what I've done, he showed me the email that was sent from my account. I was shocked, and I simply did not know what to do or how to explain to him. I tried to convince him that somebody had probably hacked my email account and written it to him, but he was too angry to listen. He canceled the meeting and chased me away. I went home in tears, and I met Sylvester in the kitchen. He looked happy for some reason, and I was surprised to see him like that, as he's become a totally different person. After his sons passed, and he smiled at me and asked how work was and why I was home so early. I looked at him and I immediately knew that he was responsible for what happened at work. I asked him why he did such a thing, as tears rolled down my cheeks. "Oh, you need to stop trying to compete with me. My son's gone, and now I'm the man of the family. When I say a word, you do it. Don't question me. Women are stay at home and do the household chores. You do not deserve to be out working, and as for now, I will provide all that's needed in the house and you do the work," he said to me full of pride. I cannot explain how I was feeling as I was filled with so many emotions, but it was most definitely anger as he had taken my job away from me. Sylvester has been acting shady lately. He's been receiving calls a lot, and I overheard him saying something about the orphanage, and I'm trying to figure out what he means by that. I think he's planning on donating my husband's things to charity. It's not that I have a problem with it, but I have to be a part of the decision-making because I am the wife, and I have equal rights in deciding what we do with my husband's things. My daughters may even want to keep some things to remember their father. I cannot really tell if he wants to do that or if he has something else in mind, but I'm telling you, he's up to no good. After turning into a monster that he is now, I cannot trust him at all. We're all hurt by the departure of his son, and we're trying to deal with it without hurting anyone. But he's trying to depend on the pain to live, and I fear it'll one day cost me my baby girls. I've been living in hell with this man, and I really wish I could leave and just go back home where I can live peacefully, but I know that there must be some goodness in Sylvester's heart, and I may be able to transform him and get him to talk about his pain. I know I complain a lot about him, but he is human and he just needs someone to help him understand that it's okay to not be okay. I'll think of a way to penetrate through his hard shell and help fix him. It may take a while though. Anyways, I have a lot to do before my daughters come back from school. I'll update you guys soon. Update number 3, 9 months later. I must say that I was wrong about ever thinking that I could help this man. He's broken. He can never be fixed. At least not by me. He's making my life a living nightmare, and now my children are against me. We had a fight with Sylvester as I could no longer handle the slavery in the house. I decided to leave the house, and he said that if I wanted to leave, I could do so without involving the children. You're so broken that not even the best psychologist can fix you. That is why you always will be alone, just as you've been. I said to him as we argued, and I guess it triggered something in him that he kicked me out. I could not leave my children there with him, though, but he also threatened me to not leave the yard. I was forced to take my children and move into the cottage in the backyard, and it's not a lot, but it's something, and my children can have a life here as well, while I sort out a way to leave this house without putting them in danger. This man has proven that he's capable of physical violence, and I will not allow him to harm my little babies. Flora is not happy that we have to move into the cottage. She shows me attitude now. I don't have a choice, and I cannot explain exactly what's going on in this big house with her grandpa, as it will instill fear in her, and she would have to deal with a lot. She's already trying to cope without her dad. I cannot believe that I believed everything Sylvester said to me when his son had just married me. I remember my husband telling me that his father can be cunning at times, and I thought he was joking. Flora has also turned her little sister against me, and she said that after her father left, I stopped loving them. I wish I could explain and tell her the naked truth, but she's far too young. I'd rather have her hate me and drop all my worries on her and make her grow up way too fast. She deserved to have her childhood and grow into adulthood just like any kid. I'll tell her when the time's right. All I wanted to do was to love my girls unconditionally and make them feel like they lack nothing, but instead, they hate me for trying to protect them from their psychotic grandfather. What can I do to show them that I love them? All I'm doing is protecting them. I'm trying hard, but it seems like it's not hard enough, and no one appreciates my hard work. This is not the kind of environment or situation I pictured myself in. I thought I would have a loving and strong support system, and the world's cruel, and I guess nobody will really care for me except me. Even my children have turned their backs on me, and I don't know how to bring them back. I'm on the edge, and I don't know if I'll be able to hang on or be rescued. I haven't talked to my mom or any family members because I know that they'll make the matter worse and I might lose my children. Update number 4. It's been 3 months since my last update. Life is getting harder. I've run out of my savings and I had no money to buy food for us. Sylvester, on the other hand, makes me beg for food from him every day, and he seems to be enjoying it fully. I'm fed up and I'm planning on running away to somewhere he will not find us and harm my children. He says that he has employed me in the house and I should work there and still beg him to carry dinner plates for my children to the cottage. I'm not allowed to take raw food, the reason being that I may keep food and he wants me to suffer. So, he wants to make sure he sees my suffering every day. I feel like hell burning, but he keeps threatening to take my children away if I leave the house. I finally heard what he is always talking about on a phone call. I was wrong when I thought that he was always just wanting to donate my husband's stuff. It's the children. He wants to take my children to an orphanage, but why would he want them to remain behind and still want to give them away? I'm scared for my children, and I have no one to talk about it with. I'm starting to think that this man may be a kidnapper, and it feels very unsafe in this house. I was really upset and concerned yesterday. So, I decided to approach Sylvester and confront him about his plot against my girls, and I quote, "I know that you're planning to get rid of my children. What do you want with me? Just tell me why you're doing this, please. Why do you want to take my girls away to an orphanage when their mother is alive and well?" I asked him as I broke into a sweat and fear overwhelmed me. He looked at me with a worryless face and said, "Look at yourself in the mirror once over. Do you really think that you're in any position to take care of these children? I want my children to grow up fearless, these grandbabies of mine, and strong, and they cannot do that being raised by a weak mother." I may seem weak, but clearly, father-in-law does not know a length the mother is willing to go, as I was angry, and I had shredded him apart in my head already. He was annoyed by my presence and used the usual threat if I was to keep sticking my nose in his business. "I'm not going to sit back and watch you destroy my children's future. They will grow up with me in their lives, whether you like it or not," I said to him as I went back to do the house chores. Sylvester has punished me because he felt that I disrespected him, and so he decided that I would not get food yesterday. I was not really affected because my children had eaten. I have had a plan to run away before, but Flora told her grandfather about it. He tricked her into telling him that we talked about it in the cottage, and that was when he started making me beg for meals as punishment. I never imagined that cruelty of this kind existed until then. A few weeks ago, we had a heated fight with Flora because her grandfather told her that I was keeping them away from the main house. She was so angry at me because she believed him. She went to the extent of saying that I took her father away from her and that she hated me. I could not stand my daughter treating me like that. I've been crying myself to sleep because, well, my being has become weak from all of this. And now that I have no savings, we cannot escape to anywhere because we will not have food or shelter. Right now, this is the only place I can be, even though this is as good as being homeless. I'll never forgive Sylvester for making me go through with this. I'll most definitely take this anger to my grave. People say forgive and forget, but in my case, I don't think I can do that after all this that I'm going through. Would you just forgive him and forget everything ever happened? Let me get back to my work and I'll update you soon on my next plan on how to leave this hell of a life behind me. Update number 5. Guys, it's been a year since my last update, and I must say that my life is coming along better now. I finally got rid of the monster I call my father-in-law. As I was busy browsing through social media trying to escape real life, I saw a business page that belonged to a childhood friend of mine, and I instantly knew that I had to contact him as he was a very good listener. I contacted him and asked him to meet up as I needed somebody to talk to, and by surprise, he replied back within a minute. I found a way to meet up with him, and when we met, he sympathized with me. After he asked if I was okay, I begun to explain my problem to him. I got married a few years ago, and then my husband died about 3 years back. Then life at home changed, and my father-in-law became a monster. He threatens to take away my children to an orphanage as apparently I cannot take care of them. He keeps threatening me whenever I want to leave the house to go back to my family. I then moved into the backyard cottage with my daughters as we hardly get through because they're all so mad at me about this. He interrupted as he handed me a handkerchief to wipe my tears away, and I gave him a slight smile and thanked him. I then continued to tell him the rest of the story, that is, well, when he gave me the most exciting news of my life since my husband passed. Sylvester has been trying to get rid of us because he knew that everything that my husband owned was now under my and the children's name. I don't know why I never actually thought about it. I was so heartbroken from the death of my husband that I completely forgot that I could be the sole owner of everything. I then understood that Sylvester got mad and started hating us because his son left nothing to him. He actually wanted to keep everything and make sure that the children and I did not come together to solve the mystery of my late husband's fortune. After I learned the truth, I had to think of a way to get rid of the thief. I had to sneak into his room to find proof that I was really the sole owner of everything, and by no surprise, I was entitled to half of the money. The other half was divided in half for each of the children, and I cried as I dropped to my knees and thanked my husband for being our guardian angel. I walked out of the house and Sylvester commanded me to stop, but I kept walking. He stated that I left. I was never allowed to come back. I was not moved nor shaken by his words anymore because I was about to set my children and myself free from his torture. I went down to the station to open a case against him for theft. They added another case on top of that for denying us the right to basic needs like food, and he tried to talk his way out of it, but it was not successful. Even though the house was full of good memories, the recent ones were all bad, as I decided to sell the house and get a smaller, peaceful house to start over with my children. My daughters finally understood that I was the good person, and their grandfather was trying to turn them against me. I now truly believe that one never really leaves. Even if they leave by flesh, they still stay with you and take care of you from the other side of life. And that's the story of my life after I left home. So my question for you guys is, am I the a-hole for putting Sylvester behind bars after all the pain he's put us through? Am I a bad daughter-in-law? Alright, so this story was so wild. A lot of the comments, though, they were saying, hey, why didn't OP go to the police? Why didn't OP call her parents and tell her what's going on? And the only thing that I could find from the comment section was the word fear. Everybody was just thinking, well, OP was probably so scared to lose her kids that she didn't want to overstep the boundaries because maybe the father-in-law was such an evil person and toxic person that he backed OP into the wall, backed her in a corner, and thought that she had nowhere to go. I mean, we don't really know the levels of manipulation that were taking place under that household, so who really knows why OP never went to the police until the end of the recordings? Let me know, though, your thoughts about this. Maybe if you guys were in OP's position, you would have done something completely different. I know I would have done something different, but it's hard to say exactly what you would do unless you were in that scenario. Let me know your thoughts. Drop them downstairs in the comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. If you want to be a part of these topics, all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit those bell notification icons so YouTube will tell you, hey, Mr. Reddito just uploaded another video. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind. And do not be like the father-in-law in today's story.